I would come home, Peggy would have supper fixed.
In my mind, I'm gone to Carolina.
And so I'd play with the kids, we'd talk. A lot of times she'd feed the kids and they'd be off doing their homework by the time I got home. But every weekend was Children's Weekend. And Ewell and I used to play football in the backyard, and we'd play kickball, and we'd do stuff like that. He was always running and throwing, playing football, whatever it was, he was always doing it. And he was very, very good at it. Probably the key event in Ewell's life growing up was when he was in the fire at Wofford. It was at spring break of his sophomore year, and he was living off campus. And Ewell had always worked, and he had a paper route in high school, and he got a paper route at school, and he had gone to bed early because he had his paper route the next morning, had to get up at 5 o'clock. There was a small puppy he had in the room with him. And early in the morning, before daybreak, the dog jumped up on the bed and woke him up. And the room was hot. The building was hot. And he cracked the door. This is the way he relates it to me. And he saw flames outside. And he knocked out the window, stepped out in his underwear, reached back in to grab the dog out, and the roof fell in. He never got the dog out. And there were 6 kids that died in that fire. He was the only one to get out. So that was one of the main events in Ewell's life. Then he went to Alaska, stayed in Alaska a year and a half. Came back, finally decided he wanted to go to school. He has a picture of himself hitchhiking from Anchorage, Alaska, home. He's in the desert with his thumb out and a Grateful Dead logo on his bag, getting a ride. I don't know what all adventures Ewell has had. The difference between John and Ewell is I think they both got in roughly the same trouble. Ewell had a lot of street sense so that he would cover it up. I almost think that John flouted it. Ruth, I remember Ruth growing up very rapidly. As Ruth matured, she became a real beauty, and she was very popular. She and Laura would get up and catch the bus across town to West Charlotte. It seemed like they got up at 5:30, would wash their hair, and get the bus at 7 to get to West Charlotte's High. Laura is one of these wonderful creatures that loves the world and is convinced the world loves her, and I think she's right. Laura went to Chapel Hill, majored in math and minored in German. Laura was the first child diagnosed in my family with dyslexia. She was a good student, though. Then after she got out of Chapel Hill, she went and lived in Germany for a year and a half. John was the baby that came along after the others were up. Well, see, Laura was 4 years older than he was, and the girls are easier raised than boys are. At least I felt as though they were. The girls didn't get in the trouble that the boys did. But John, I thank God for John, but at times I didn't feel that way. I'd begin to think he never was going to get out of high school. Then he wasn't going to get out of college. Then he got out of college and finally finished. And he's the only one with an advanced degree. Went back, got his MBA. So you never know. Good old John. And one of the big events of the year is that we would, all of us pile in our station wagon, and we'd drive down to Destin, which was about a 12-hour drive. My parents, their grandparents, they had a house down in Destin. They virtually spent summer down there. And this was a picture of John and my dad eating peanut butter together. We'd sing songs, we had songbooks, we'd sing, we'd do all kind of stuff. driving down to Destin. Oh, we would sing Mr. Frog went a courting and he didn't ride. We used to sing I know a lady, she ate a fly, you know. We used to sing nursery rhymes. I remember one thing I used to do that they kid me about now. I'd buy four Cokes and one package of cheese crackers. There are 5 cheese crackers in the pack. So I'd give each one of them 1 cheese cracker. And I would say, whoever eats it the slowest and has some left will get the extra cracker. So they laugh about how slowly they could eat a cracker. They end up with getting the extra cracker. No reason no wonder my children are so scarred. But those are fun trips going down there, and it was all paid for. Ola Mae was there, was the maid that came down with my parents. And she was wonderful with the children. There was just a beautiful beach. This was long before Destin was ever discovered. It was nothing more than just a small fishing village with fabulous sand and beautiful crystal clear water. And I'm sure Ruth and Laura learned to swim there in the bay. And we just had a magnificent time. And we stayed 2 weeks. And it was just a great, great time. And I'm sure that they have wonderful memories of that. At that time, we were the only family on our street, which was about 3 blocks long. They kept all the kids in public school. And the last 3 were all bused across town to what it had been an all-black school. It wasn't that we couldn't afford to send them to Country Day or to Latin school had just been formed. Our philosophy was that the society is going to be better if we integrate. The way that the Swan decision was decided is that we could not have any schools that were predominantly black. And that meant there was massive busing. And we stayed in the court. And I was on the school board doing all this fighting. There was still the conflict between those who advocated and fought vigorously for segregation or not being bused, the anti-busing group. And the judge, he said, if you've been busing all these years to maintain segregation, you can bus to maintain integration. And that case was challenged and went all the way up to the Supreme Court. But we spent lavishly in sending them off to excellent camps. And we expected them to learn to be independent. And they did. Our saying is, if you raise them to be independent, you have to accept what you get. And they are very diverse in a wonderful way. I think in our philosophy in raising children, it was, we give you plenty of rope, we set examples for you, and we don't set real strict rules. The kids have joked back in saying that we gave them so much rope that they would hang themselves. And 1 or 2 of them have complained, mostly Ruth has complained that we didn't set enough guidelines for her. But she's turned out mighty good, so we must have done something right. Ewell enrolled in the rubber duck race in Boulder, Colorado. You buy a duck for $5. And they put all the ducks in Boulder Creek, and then there's a finish line, and whichever duck crosses the creek first, you win an automobile. So out of 4,000 ducks, his one won the race. And he came down and he said, well, I did this for charity, so I'll give the car back to charity. And I'm proud of that. And I think all of our kids have kind of felt as though they're blessed and that they should give back. I love the mantra that I picked up, which is from Sanskrit, that grace is served in the chalice of gratitude. As parents, we were a team. If Peggy and I had a disagreement about the kids, It was never discussed in front of them. In raising children, we both prescribe to the idea that the kids are to be responsible. We're not going to be minute managers of them. We give them a lot of support, a lot of love, and a lot of security in knowing that we're always there and that we have a strong relationship between their mother and their father, and that we're there for them and we will do anything for them. And I feel very richly blessed by the children that I have and the children they married and the grandchildren they produced. I mean, my cup runneth over.